What's up, Asphalt Lifers?
This is Atlas Insider, your look at who makes Atlas work.
Check it out!
All right. Well, hey, everybody, Asphalt Lifers. This is Stan Bastek coming out of our corporate headquarters at Atlas Roofing. We're really excited today to have a really special guest with us. Ryan Blaney drives the Menards car, and a very big week coming up for you, Ryan, heading to Indy. Tell us a little bit about what you have in store for NASCAR fans this week.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, big weekend for us. Multiple reasons. Going to Indianapolis to race there, and anytime you get a chance to race in Indianapolis, and have a possibility of winning at such a historic place is really important. Especially driving for Roger Penske, his history there, and now that he owns the Speedway, it's even more, important to go try to win at that place. It's known around the shop. It's not really talked about. You just kind of understand it. You understand that this is a really big weekend. And also, Atlas is on the car with Menards this weekend for us. So really cool things going on this weekend, and looking forward to getting out on a racetrack here on Saturday.
That's great. Yeah, well, you spoke about Atlas being on the hood. We're very excited. We got a huge group of contractors and partners coming up to enjoy the day, enjoy the festivities, and we're thrilled to be on the hood for such a big race. So we agree. Indy's a fun one to be a part of, and we're looking forward to seeing you cross first across the finish line. Speaking of the Cup standings overall, how much are you paying attention to that? Or at this point in the season, there's obviously some folks that are still trying to get in. You're in a really good spot sitting number 10. Is that still matter, or are you just trying to go out and win on Sunday?
Yeah. It's nice not having to worry about, trying to get into the playoffs, being locked in already, winning at Charlotte. It's nice being in. Really the main goal is where our mindset is at is, going to win every single weekend, right? Trying to win races. But also you are kind of looking at the guys who you're around in points, because, the top 10 at the end of the regular season get bonus points throughout the playoffs. So you're obviously wanting to finish as high up in the regular season points as you can. So I'll pay attention to those guys, who you're around, the handful that you can kind of get to if you can have some good races here, in the final three before the playoffs start. So a little bit of both, but winning, that's the main thing right now, because we might be able to take some chances, the next 3 weeks of off strategy stuff, or take some chances to win races just because you're already into the playoffs and don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, shoot your shot, so to speak, the next 3 weeks. Right. Go for it, and it's great. Get to tinker a little bit before you get into the playoffs. I have to imagine, having been to several races and seeing the incredible teamwork that goes into putting all of this together. Talk a little bit about the importance of teamwork, and how is that relationship between you and your crew and the entire team supporting you? What works, what doesn't work? How do you gotta evaluate, how to make sure that this team is functioning at a high level?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's really, it's a big team sport. It's not just the driver behind the wheel. There's 15 other people that are at the racetrack on my specific car that each have a very important job, whether it's the guys who go over the wall and do the pit stops, from the mechanics, engineers, crew chief, they all have their role in trying to win the race. And we all rely on each other, and you have to count on each other. So you pick each other up when, one makes a mistake, and you support each other, because any given moment, anyone can make a mistake, and you have to be there to, to have that person's back. So, it's a huge team sport. And even, at the race shop, men and women who don't go to the track every weekend, who aren't road crew, there's hundreds of employees at the Penske race shop that contribute, like I said, engineers, mechanics, fab shop, paint shop, parts, all those people have a really crucial role in success of our team. So it's a whole lot of people that it takes to put one car on the racetrack. So you definitely you want to include everybody and want everyone to make sure that there's a lot of people behind the scenes that you might not ever see that have a huge part in this. So yeah, teamwork is something that we really rely on. Mr. Penske says it best, people are our most important asset, and very true words. You have to have the right people around you and supporting each other. And that's what it takes to be successful in this deal.
Yeah, no question about it. And I appreciate you sharing some of that about your team and about the philosophy. We at Atlas Roofing have a very similar sort of philosophy. And, we say, hey, we make products with purpose and we have people with passion, right? And I think you really have to respect, organizational leadership that really puts people at the front of what you do every day and really recognizes the individual contributions. Roofing is not quite as fun or exciting as, race car driving. But again, we all have to make exciting what we do so everybody feels like they come to work every day with a purpose and excited to go contribute and support their families. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit. I know you probably get a lot of these questions over and over again, but being, a legacy driver and having a family in the sport, I think that's always interesting. We get so much interest because of our partnership with Menards and our partnership with you about race car driving. And there was so much excitement to hear that you were going to be driving, and the Menards car and Atlas will be on the hood. And a lot of that excitement comes from just knowing your family. Talk a little bit about your earliest memories of racing and how your dad and your grandfather really influenced your path into this career.
Yeah, I mean, they were the biggest. My dad was the biggest piece of how I got racing, and my grandfather is the biggest piece of how my dad got racing. So, growing up, my grandfather and dad and I am from, Ohio and kind of by Youngstown. And, up there, my grandfather never raced any NASCAR stuff. He was just a dirt sprint car, dirt modified guy. And he did that, from the 60s all the way up to the early 2000s. So he raced for many years. And my dad got started in the 80s racing dirt sprint cars. That's kind of what he did. Did the World of Outlaws, through the late 80s, late 90s. And, won championship in 95, won the Knoxville Nationals 97, won the Kings Royal 1 year in that time frame. And then kind of towards the late 90s, Dad started to make a transition into NASCAR and got full-time in the early 2000s. So I was just really, ever since I was born, I was just kind of in it. It's just what we did. It's what our family did. I have two sisters, and our whole family would go to the racetrack, and support Dad race. And my mom had a pretty tough job hauling three kids around to the racetrack every single weekend and trying to make sure we didn't run off. But I just earliest memories were honestly at some of the dirt tracks, in the late 90s when I was, 5, 6, 7 years old. And then when he transitioned to NASCAR, we moved to North Carolina, and that's really where I grew up. I kind of got my base there in North Carolina, and I started when I was 9 years old racing quarter midgets, and just, really fortunate to get some good opportunities and know a lot of people, from Dad racing to where I kind of was able to get some good chances and was able to make a job out of it, make a career out of it. So, just a really, really neat upbringing. Don't really know much else, just because it's just been part of my life for so long. It's what we did on the weekends. We'd work on our cars throughout the week or have some time at home, go to school, and then you would leave and travel to go racing, so that was just normal to me. So it was kind of easy for me to get a grasp of it because I was introduced to it so young, and definitely a fun childhood for sure, being able to go to racetracks and support Dad and then race my, when I started running. So, definitely couldn't ask for more. It's just been a really fun ride for the last, it's been 20 years since I've been racing. So it definitely I've been doing it for a long time. So.
That's amazing. Well, you're a young guy still, and you got a long career ahead of you, but it is amazing when you turn around and say, oh my gosh, what just happened? 20 years have passed. But you mentioned being 9 years old, when you really first started racing. You're going to have some young fans there this week. So one of our partners at Hail Trace Derek Klein, he's bringing his son, and he races. I think he's 10 years old, and we sponsor another guy, one of our contractors up in Chicago. And again, they go and do the local circuit, man. But I can't tell you how many people in our industry, roofing for some reason seems very tied to race car driving, and it's amazing, how many of these guys go out and tinker with their own cars, and they're weekend warrior racers, and then they get their kids involved doing souped up go-karts, and they graduate into different things. But it's a really, really fun thing for the folks that are part of our community as well. And hearing somebody who started so young is really inspirational to a lot of people that really want to look at that as a potential track for them down the road. So
yeah, and I tell it to a lot of people, you're never too late to start, racing. I know kids who started at 5. I know, people who started when they were mid-teenager, or even later in life. I mean, I knew guys who just started in their 30s or 40s, kind of, hey, I want to go try to run, track days in my car. So it's such a cool sport to where you can do it, no matter how young you are, to an extent. Then I've
done one of those racing driving schools, and they have the red light and the green light on the back of the car you're following, and the dude had the green light on the whole time. He was like, dude, you got to keep up. I'm going like 120, like shaking. So some people are cut out for it and some people aren't.
Yeah, you never know until you try. So you gotta try it.
Definitely a thrill. There's no question about it. So I guess, a couple other questions, and I know we'll let you go. Heading into the Brickyard, you talked about how special this race is for a lot of reasons, obviously with your ownership and with the, just the history behind that track. And it's a really busy weekend with everything going on. What is your favorite place to race? Again, another one of those questions I'm sure you get a lot, but not necessarily one place, but what tracks do you like? What environments do you like? Where do you get the most pumped up?
Yeah, I mean, I think every track is unique in its own way, whether it's, you like the racing around there, you enjoy the racetrack, you enjoy the area, the fans around it. Each one is unique, but I kind of look back at a place to where, I grew up really close to Martinsville, Virginia. I was just south of it. So, really enjoyed going there as a kid, watching dad race. That was one of my favorite places to go watch a race. I'd say there in Bristol, it's just really cool. Those are just racetracks that stuck with me as a kid. And I loved watching there because you can see everything, right? You can see the whole racetrack. And as a kid, that was really easy for me to kind of grasp as favorite tracks. And now I love going there as an adult, being able to compete at those tracks. But, cool atmosphere racetracks, Talladega always has an amazing atmosphere around it. I love going to Talladega. Daytona's always special. Darlington's fantastic. And I'd say Charlotte too, it's kind of our home hub. We're all really based, all the race shops are in like a 30-mile radius around Charlotte, so that's a big kind of bragging rights track for sure. So that was cool to win there, in May for the 600. But each one of them's special. But I'd say like Martinsville and Bristol, they are special to me because I liked them so much as a kid.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we'll be wishing you luck in Indy this week. So one last question for you. When you're not racing, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do outside of the racing persona that we see every week?
Yeah, we don't get a lot of time off. So, this deal just kind of consumes your life. But, I try to get at least one day a week before we fly out to where I'm off and I don't really have to do anything. I think that's important to kind of separate it and kind of do hobbies you like. So, I've actually become a big golfer in the last few years. Okay. Something I never really did as a kid, but 3 years ago I picked it up and I absolutely love it. I'm a big outdoorsman. I love being around my house and kind of getting that stuff done because, we're gone half the week. So I love my home. So I try to, like, the maintenance around here always keeps me busy, I feel like. So, golf, being outside. I love my dogs. I have a couple dogs and just spending time with them because I don't get to see them every single day. So, that stuff's really great. And my girlfriend and I love traveling, even though we travel all the time, but we take a lot of trips in the winter, whether it's out of the country or states or places we haven't seen. So, it's fun to do it, but, the racing side, it consumes a lot, but I think it's important to try to find some downtime away from it every now and then, maybe once a week.
Yeah, well, that downtime's important, but if it's consuming you, that means you must love it, and you're
Yeah.
obviously really good at it. I mean, again, top 10 in the world right now, and we're really excited to see how you finish out the season and head into the playoffs, and just really appreciate you taking the time. We know your schedule's busy. Appreciate your partnership with Menards and with Atlas Roofing, and again, the whole Asphalt Life community. Our contractors are going to be rooting for you this weekend, and can't wait to see how things shape up.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's like I said, a special weekend. Really excited to have you guys on the hood with Menards. It's been a pleasure to get to be partners with you guys, and I know the Menard family, they really enjoy it too. So
yeah,
it's really cool to see that car in victory lane at Indy. So we're going to try to make that happen.
You can't miss it. That's the one thing I love about the car is it is bright and you see it wherever you're at on the track. So yeah, it's going to be in high visibility, and we'll have a bunch of people from Atlas there excited to watch you in victory lane.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks, Ryan. See ya.
See you.